Call this meeting to order. Roll call.
Mayor Louis Trujillo,
Present.
Councilor David Romero,
Here.
Councilor Elaine Rodriguez,
Present.
Councilor Michael Montoya,
Present.
Councilor David Olivari Jr. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We do have a quorum.
Mr. Ulibarri is excused. Next order of business, please. Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand up and join us. Would one of you like to do the Pledge of Allegiance? No? Okay, that's fine. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to take this time to just to recognize the people who have been so nice during this whole pandemic, and there's just so many to thank, and people who are doing things for people and collecting food and money and distributing goods and services and giving more at work. So many people in our community are doing amazing things, and just like to keep them in prayer and in thanksgiving for all their hard work. So we just take a moment of silence. Thank you. I'd like to welcome members of the Main Street de Las Vegas, that to include our dignified leader, Dr. Sam Minner, to our meeting this afternoon. Thank you, colleague. Next order of business, please.
Mr. Mayor, approval of the agenda.
I'll accept a motion to approve the agenda.
So move, Mr. Mayor.
There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Montoya. Second, please.
Second.
Second by Mr. Romero. Roll call, please.
Councilor Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilor Montoya,
Yes.
Councilor Romero.
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Montoya, a second by Councilor Romero. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next order of business, public input. We have no public input this evening. Moving on, Mayor, you have a recognition.
We sure do, and I'll let Councilman Romero take this portion over, but feel free, Mr. Romero. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, for letting me recognize this individual. I know we had discussed this prior, and just recently she was recognized through the Suicide Awareness Program. So this Buen Vecino Award goes out to Olivia Silva from Olivia's Cafe. I just want to kind of, note a couple things that she does in our community. She coaches 2 local soccer teams. She donates some of her proceeds to Kiwanis, to foster children, and for the suicide walk. She has Teacher Appreciation Month with daily giveaways. She donates backpacks filled with supplies to school children. She has helped fundraise for children for college tuition. Has giveaways every Thursday on the radio and Facebook. She donates 1 meal per week to the soup kitchen. She donated needle containers to the Substance Abuse Coalition and law enforcement. She gives free meals to those in need. During COVID, and this is a big one that I know during COVID she gave meals to first responders and frontline workers. And also she feeds city employees that work around the plaza now that the project has been going on. So with this, Olivia, thank you. Thank you for all you do in our community. And I know, sometimes you do these things and you don't expect any recognition, but we in the community do see it, and we thought it was appropriate time to recognize you with this Buen Vecino Award from the Mayor's Office.
Thank you.
You forgot one important thing, Councilman.
Okay, Mayor?
She makes delicious food. I was just there when.
Yes.
Thank you, Olivia. I really appreciate all your help, and on behalf of the council and myself, thank you for everything that you do for our community. Thank you too I know you help, I've seen you there helping your mom there.
Helpers.
Yes. Do you want to see it, anything?
Yeah, no, thank you guys. You guys are the ones that put in the hours day in and day out. You guys work without being at work, so that's what's important. So just know that you have, it's a team. The community is a team, so we're on your team. And we're
Thank
part of
you.
the solution.
Thank you.
Thank you, Olivia.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. It says a lot for a business in this community. You know, it's literally a little place, mom and pop run. I see your mom there helping, and everything that you do for the betterment of the community and your kindness and generosity, I hope comes back to you sixfold. And thank you so much, and thank you for my breakfast in the morning. I'm very appreciative of my chunky bread with potatoes. So. Thank you. And thank you to Monica and my friend Cindy back there for supporting. Thank you so much. Next order of business, please.
Mr. Mayor, approval of minutes for September 8th, 2021.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the minutes.
There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Romero. I'll entertain a second, please.
I'll second.
There's a second by Dr. Rodriguez. Roll call, please.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Romero, a second by Counselor Rodriguez. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Moving on to business items. Our first item is discussion direction on prior fiscal year 2021 Main Street contract. We have our city manager, Leo Maestas, presenting.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council.
Welcome, Mr. Maestas. Thanks for
Thank
being
you.
here.
So this discussion is based on the contract that the City of Las Vegas has in the last fiscal year with Main Street, and some scope of work that was not able to be achieved due to COVID and other circumstances. So we'd like to bring Main Street to the table and discuss what they can do to kind of finish out last year's contract before we move into the new year's contract.
Absolutely.
Ms. Della, if you would.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for taking the time to meet with us.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you, thank you. So we had, this has been ongoing, and the counselors have been really wonderful about talking with each of us and working through this contract. So we do have, we've worked on a rough draft on the issues that we met with Councilor Montoya and Romero earlier today. So we have some of the remediation of the items that they had concerns with. Is it okay if I hand these to you?
Sure.
Thank you.
Gracias.
And the answer is yes.
Well, purchased.
Was that the last one?
You get
Was that ours?
We didn't get out of that. Good job.
So, and this has been a wonderful opportunity to kind of get to know the counselors and work with the counselors and kind of learn about the workings of how the contracts are going and your concerns as well, being, you know, a city entity and how you have to report. So we're very grateful for that input from each of you. So the items that Councilor Montoya and Councilor Romero had, we have gone through each of them, and it's a rough draft and something for you guys to look over. But these are the items that were not completed last year.
Did you want to go through them, or?
Sure, we can,
If
if
you
you
don't
wish.
mind.
Sure.
Yeah, there aren't that many.
No.
If you wouldn't mind, Stella.
No, of course. Okay, number one, there was no issue with the counselors on that one. Number two, the facade squad. There was 3 buildings that we were gonna work on. We did one item that wasn't a building, we did a cleanup on a streetscape, and originally facade squad was facade squad and streetscape. But we did one of those, and we'll complete the last 2 in the next 6 months. We will coordinate 3 downtown cleanups. We've done 2 of those cleanups, and we have one scheduled for Saturday. One thing that Councilor Montoya and Romero were telling us, we need proof of these items and that they're completed. So this Saturday, we have one, we will have a sign-in sheet, and we'll provide that to you.
Do you know what time the cleanup is?
Oh, it's a 9 to 12.
Yeah.
It's actually in the community garden, and it's on Railroad Avenue. We're going to do that section of Railroad and Douglas, and it's with Judge Gallegos and her community service program.
Okay.
So something that we are very much looking forward to moving forward on is the Great Blocks Project. This is an ongoing thing, and it's really a wonderful opportunity for Las Vegas. This is part of the Great Blocks Project through New Mexico Main Street. We've been awarded, initially it was $75,000 for architectural drawings, which has been completed. We have $550,000 worth of construction money to complete the section of Lincoln Avenue.
And the corner of Railroad. The infrastructure.
The infrastructure in the corner of Railroad. And it was sent out to bid. I believe Franken
Franken.
Construction.
Right. They bid $200,000 over, and so we're actually going to go, I talked to Mr. Maestas about meeting with Franken to talk about and meeting with the engineer and designer, George Radnovich from Site Southwest, on where we could cut the $200,000 or how we could come to a deal. So we're going to set up a meeting with Franken to talk about that.
So we'll have the engineer, hopefully Franken, and the city manager present, so we can move forward quickly instead of going back and forth.
We have to start it by June of next year.
Yeah, we have to start it by June of next year, we'll lose the money. So that's right now our number 1 priority, is to get that item moving. The whole project is $2.2 million, for which Main Street, New Mexico Main Street has informed us that, we're in line for. So however we can get assistance from the city, whatever we can do to get that done, we're going to get it done, with your help, of course.
Mr. Mayor, if I could add to that real quick.
Mr. Romero?
And Stella and Councilor Montoya and myself and Reina had this discussion on that Great Blocks project, is that somewhere in between there was that disconnect, and I know Michael, you had been in contact with the director at the time, but there was that disconnect to where we thought everything up here, everything was happening, and it kind of wasn't happening, and so all in all, this whole communication has to happen between, Main Street, and also, if you guys are having issues and things aren't, because I was able to look at the minutes, as you had shared with Leo. So if we didn't know any about, on our level, we could direct the city manager, hey, you know what, this department isn't doing their job, we need to move it along, but that kind of never happened. So I know the frustration in speaking with Stella and Reina was that you guys, Main Street themselves were frustrated, hey, well, what's going on with this project? So that's where we need to build that communication as a whole, not just where it's a benefit for us to hold you accountable, but at the same time, if we're not doing our part either, meaning the economic development or whatever, bids or whatever,
Yeah.
we need to know that so we could get our end moving also.
And it would be helpful for you to know, like, where we are in the project exactly. And I thought
Yeah.
maybe we could have a separate meeting about that, just to go through the plans, because I know we So it's a 6-year project, so it's been around for that long, but we've been slowly moving it forward. But I think it would be great to update you and show you. We're going to talk to George Radnovich this coming week.
Yeah, and that's, you're right, we haven't been, and we didn't know we could. So, no, we'll let you guys know exactly what's going on, because it's a really beautiful project, and it'll be a big benefit to the city. And it's our hopes that, you know, we can demonstrate to the at a state level that we can work together. Yeah.
So I just had to throw that in there, Mayor, because I
Yeah.
know
Thank
it's kind of
you.
surprising, and I know we had kind of been pushing this whole thing, and it was kind of just stuck, and things like that need to, as we discussed, it's a mover and a shaker to get things done, plain and simple.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to throw that in there on that item.
Thank you, Mr. Romero.
But we'll update you, and moving forward, the communication will be better, and that was something that Councilman Romero brought together, and really everybody, when we spoke with Councilwoman Rodriguez. You know, we need to talk with you guys better, and let you know where we're at, what we're doing, concerns, and it is my hope that that's a two-way street. If you guys see something that we need to do, or there's an opportunity, or something's awry, we need to, if we know in the moment, we'll fix it.
And- Go ahead, Dr.
And a lot of the work that you're doing is in our wards, right? And I just want to reiterate what Councilman Romero said, is sometimes you get, a barrier comes in place, so I think it's just contact us, let us know, because then we can work with you to kind of move beyond that obstacle. Yeah.
We welcome that. That would be wonderful. Yeah, absolutely.
And maybe on the new contracts that come out, sometimes I like to see faces, and as opposed to just a letter or a piece of paper being sent to us about your quarterly report or whatever. And I would love to see it written into more contracts that you present in person, even if it's 15 minutes, 10 minutes, just say,
Right.
hey, I want to catch you up. We're here, this is our contract, we're 70% done with this, these are the problems we're having with this issue, we may have to move it or suspend it. But I love those reports because
Okay.
I see your face, and the information sinks in, as opposed to just
Right.
sending it and hope it gets to us. This time, maybe an in-person quarterly report, you know, and give us 15 minutes and tell us where you're at.
I think one of the things that we thought, Mayor, was that we would present it every quarter. So as the quarter ends, then we present. So this time we would present in October. And then we'll also bring people with us when we present. So if we're working with these volunteers in the community garden, they should come with us. You know, just so you can see. I love it when the Animal Welfare Coalition gives their report, because he's so into that and he's so good with it.
That's great.
And if at any time you see somebody within your organizations that needs to be recognized publicly, like we did for Olivia, because there's a lot of people doing a lot of nice things, please let me know, and I'd be happy to, you know, if you're going to bring them, I'd like to maybe
Sure.
honor them in some way as well.
That'd be great. And what we're going to try to do is get you those reports instead of like the day before the council meeting. Get you those reports a little bit earlier so you can, you know,
If we have questions.
if you have questions, then it'll be a little bit more thorough of a review. So thank you for that feedback. Develop and implement a survey for shoppers in the area. So Main Street will work with Las Vegas First. We're going to be doing this online to kind of make it a little bit COVID-proof. Originally, it was outlined to be in person. So we will work with them, and we thought November and December would be the best time to do it because there's more shoppers.
And so and the stores keep big email lists, and they have Facebook presence, so we'll do the surveys that way, you know, during that time.
And I have a comment, Mayor.
Go ahead, Dr. Rodriguez.
When I met with these individuals, we also talked about developing internships that we have students that would love to work with this organization, and then we have a lot of students who have a lot of experience on developing surveys.
wow.
And
Okay.
they have
That's
experience in, it would be great for them to work with your organization to help them develop with leadership skills. I think this is an ideal opportunity for many of our students at Highlands, and also Luna, if we can make those connections.
That would be great.
That would be great.
It would be a great opportunity
And we
for
need it.
us.
Yeah, we need it.
Yeah. So that's a win-win. Yes, ma'am, thank you for that. Develop a partnership with New Mexico Highlands. We have some good connections with New Mexico Highlands University.
And this was his idea.
This was Sam's idea, Dr. Minner's idea. But to have an outdoor public event that Main Street kind of spearheads with Highlands University.
In the railroad district, though.
Yeah, in the railroad district. And this project will be completed in 6 months. And we hope, knock on wood, that we'll be able to do that. And if it's not, we know now to bring it forward to you that one of these items we will be unable to complete, and then.
Let's do it and I'll help you. I have a great idea.
Okay? Okay?
Good,
Art installation.
Yes,
Oh.
yes.
good idea.
Hit me up, call
Okay.
me, I'm here.
Okay, thank you. But we will, and hopefully by then we'll be able to do larger events or
Mr. Mayor, if I could add to that, and I know we had this discussion, Stella, at the end of the day, Michael, some of these items, it's easy to say we're going to develop this, but at the end of the day, we don't see it. So what we had suggested, and I looked up a best practices on deliverables. So let's say, you do this thing with Highlands. Put a flyer, that, okay, this was the flyer, the event that we had, and then we see that and say, well, it did happen. It's not, because there's so many events in this community, we don't know what's, everything that's happening, but for us to know, oh, well, it was on this day, here's the flyer, it was advertised, it wasn't just some secretive, event that nobody knew of, and it's evident that there's the deliverable, that took place, there's the proof, and we move on. So those are the kind of deliverables that I mentioned at the last meeting, is that some of these items, we need to have something, because and I'm sure Dr. Minner has to do the same thing when he does, there at Highlands. We have to have proof that we spent that money. We can't just say, well, we gave it to them, and then when they come to audit, well, there's no accountability. Because, and again, I apologize, it was brought to our attention that you did turn in those quarterly reports. We never saw them, we never
Right.
got that information.
And I think I assumed you saw them and you didn't even know about them, so.
And that's why I'm saying that person to person is so important.
Yeah.
And for these
We're gonna do
events,
better.
invite us. Invite me. I'll make sure we know that it
Right.
happened.
Yeah, no, we'll make sure that everyone in the council's aware. You guys are gonna be sick of our emails, but we're gonna make sure you know what we're doing.
Could you say that again, Michael? You said I saw them?
Do what?
You said I saw them?
No, he said he thought you had.
I thought we saw the
Everyone
quarterly
had 'em.
reports.
I thought you said
Oh,
I saw
I
them.
just
no.
submitted them to the community
Yeah,
vote.
okay.
No.
I thought he said I
You guys
saw
had
him
no
on the-
idea.
No.
No, we
In
know,
general, okay.
we know, that's going to be fixed as well. Develop and implement a plan for the management of garbage cans, trees, flower boxes located, was there a number of these? I think there was.
6 and 6.
Six. Anyway,
Benches and stuff.
Yeah, 6 benches and flower boxes. Anyway, we will hand you guys a written plan on how we're going to complete that, and then we'll have documentation. We'll send you guys pictures and things of before and after and how we complete it.
So I hate to bug in again,
No,
but
go
I'm
for
super
it.
excited because an artist moved back to town.
Which artist is that?
His name is Jeremias Gonzalez. And he does work with old cars and old trucks and old everything.
Mhm.
But I'll give you an example. He made a bench, a park bench out of the back end of a 57 Chevy. So the 57 Chevy lights are there, and there's a place for you to sit down. And so that's why I'm talking to you about the art
Right.
installation. He's eager to donate a piece, and he's eager to
Okay.
put some more out. And so you should see his work. It's just amazing. So at some point, let me know, and we
Okay.
can
Absolutely.
talk. But he
Cool.
definitely wants to donate a big bench for sitting area. So we thought of the travel center.
Oh, that would be great.
But they're
Okay.
beautiful. They're super gorgeous. Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Montoya.
point of order. I have a question for the clerk or maybe the attorney. This meeting was advertised, and we have an item on the agenda to discuss and direction on the 2021 Main Street contract. So we asked for this recommendations to come before us as to how we're going to make sure that they're in compliance with this last year's, what they should have been doing. But this wasn't advertised. So are we supposed to be even talking about this, on this? Because it was just put in the packet now?
As long as the council's not making a permanent decision, it would be no different than other discussion items. It is linked with the 2022 contract, because the 2022 contract
So-
is conditioned on the 2021 contract being in good standing.
Okay,
So
because we will be,
you're not totally out of the realm of where you should be.
okay, because we will be making recommendations on this.
I think you
But
could.
if it wasn't advertised and if it wasn't part of the agenda or the packet, that's my concern. Are we okay or not?
I think if the discussion is that the 2021 contract is tied to the approval of the 2022 contract, then you're
Even though we got the information today? That's my question.
the information on the 2022 contract?
Um,
Or you're saying, okay,
This, that we're discussing now.
is that for the 2021?
Yes.
Last year's, yeah.
I think if the 2022 contract is contingent or relies upon, or is part of the 2021 contract, then you're dealing with two.
Okay, we'll deal with the 21-22 contract next. And that's attached to the agenda. But this information was not attached to last year's.
But it
This is new, information.
If they're presenting new information, that it's fine for them to present information as part of their appearing before council and giving them an update as to what's going on with last year's contract. It sounds like the approval, what's on the agenda is the approval of the 2022 contract. So I don't see there's not any reason why you can't discuss the 21 contract, especially if they're giving a report about what happened with last year's contract. Because there's no decision being made on the 2021 contract.
I would agree.
Okay, thank you.
Discussion and direction.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that clarification. All right. The inventory, Main Street District's building inventory list, that has been completed, and we will we'll email all of you all that information. We gave a list this morning, but we'll make sure that everybody gets it.
And there was a question that we brought in, and Reina wasn't too sure on that, is how did that end up? Like, what was the benefit of having that list? I mean, what was the main intent on that list?
From my understanding is just knowing who owners were.
Condition of building?
Yeah, the condition of the buildings. It's just a start to know where the buildings, who the owners were, you know.
So there's some document that tells
Yeah,
you, so.
because we got that list this morning, and it was only on the Bridge Street area. It wasn't all within the Main Street.
So Cindy,
Can Cindy say?
Yeah. Did we get a
It's
copy of
done.
it?
For some reason, I just sent Michael to Bridge Street,
Okay.
but every year we update the inventory from Railroad District, Douglas Avenue, 6th, a few blocks on Grand, our Main Street District to Bridge Street.
So I guess that list, how, I mean, what's the, future plan using that list to maybe apply for grants, or I'm just trying to figure what?
We've used it in some grants, and initially New Mexico Main Street said that we needed an inventory.
Oh, okay.
And it helps us with what buildings are vacant. If someone is looking for a building or reuse purpose for a vacant building, that's what we can use it with.
So what list? I didn't get a list.
Councilor Montoya and I thought I was.
It's constantly changing, so the list you have will be, you might notice so-and-so's moved or a building fell down or something.
Is
Do you have
12th
an
Street,
extra-
is
We'll
12th
see.
Street included?
Pardon me?
12th Street?
Yes, the corner between Douglas and National, that part of 12th Street, so the skillet is on the list.
I don't see it here.
Because I think you just,
I don't think the list that you got this morning is the complete list. She
Okay.
just sent me as part of the list, so we'll send you the complete list.
Okay, so all of us. can
Cindy
get-
did
I
the
can get
inventory.
one. Okay. All right.
Any other questions on
Okay.
that? Educate and work with existing and potential building owners to assist with state tax credit applications for restoration, renovation, and reuse of buildings. One of the beauties of Main Street, being a Main Street district, is that we have access to several experts in different areas that come and provide their services, and that's something that, we are learning and getting better at bringing those specialists in, and they really help. Anyway, we had, Raina Serna came twice last year and presented, and we do have the sign-in sheets on that, so we'll get those and provide those for you.
And can I just say, so last year, in terms of free services that we got with architects, graphic designers, for the city, for things we did, like the architect came and did a condition report on the 3 gazebos, that was all free. So Las Vegas last year, and this was published at the state level, Las Vegas got $69,000 of free services through the service for contracts that we did. So it was a good thing, and we have access to these people, like Ria Serna, or people like that who come. She's a property specialist. She comes because they pay her when she comes. We don't have to pay anything. So,
Yeah, and those are services I don't think we use enough, and they're provided free through Main Street, so.
There's an application process. I did call Rhea to kind of find
Yeah.
out, what she did. I mean,
Yes.
again,
Main Street has to apply to New Mexico Main
Yes.
Street to get them to come in. So if you guys have ideas, or can we get an architect to look at this, or can we?
well, the one that caught my eye was the marketing, and this was going to kind of be a proposal for the next. I mean, I saw that there's a marketing, but I don't know, I mean, those are probably discussions that we have, but that's.
it'd be great to have the marketing person, she's great, to have the marketing person come in and talk to the marketing committee. I mean, we could apply for a services contract to bring that person in to talk to the marketing committee. That would be they're really, really
That
good
was,
people.
as we were trying to, there's some on the new contract that kind of already been, I mean, not fully completed, but kind of the description.
I know.
It's already been done, so I was
We
just
need,
thinking of
and that's
creative ways
something
on.
we need help from you guys on how to better describe what we're doing. Because, like Great Blocks is, a long project. And I was thinking maybe we could break it up into phases, so you guys know that we're completing things, and how to document that better for you guys, just so you know what we're doing.
And that would also be in kind.
Yes.
And I'm not seeing
Even
it
better.
on your budget, that's why.
It doesn't, so there's no, I guess we haven't put it on our budget. We get a report every year from them saying, this year you used $69,000 worth of services.
Yeah.
But there's no money, I mean, they come to town, they do what they
Yeah, 'cause
do,
we-
and nothing
you-
comes to us.
You
So-
report that as in kind.
I could.
When you're
That's a
applying
good
for a
idea.
grant. So it'd be nice for us
To
to
see
have
those.
that information
Yes,
also.
ma'am.
Yeah.
You'll be receiving an email from me, and possibly if Rhea is available on that weekend. I'm looking at October 15th. or 16th to do a half-day marketing meeting for the entire city.
Rhea.
It's not Rhea, it's,
Yeah, it's somebody else that'll do more.
It's either Leighton Moon or yeah, I'll find out if they're available.
It's related to marketing, so
Okay.
you'll be getting an email from me.
What's
I'm
the
putting-
time on
October
that?
15th.
It's going to be from 9 to noon, location TBA.
So I just need to see if they're available. I'll see if they're, I mean, I have to write and sort of see if they're available and all that.
Sounds good.
I'll do that.
Thank you.
So with that, Mayor Michael, and just, I mean, again, you know, I know there seems to have been some issues here that were taken personally, and it was never, let me, you know, make myself clear, never personal, never directed at anyone. It just, at the end of the day, it was just the accountability as far as this is what we paid for, this is what we got. And I know for a fact, you know, I know that the extra things that you do, but we can't, I mean, in any government, and even, you know, and I know Mr. Minner, and I don't know, I mean, you know, he can't go and backdate some of these items because they're gonna say, hey, well, you paid for these, but, I mean, so we can't backdate some of these, you know, so let's say for this one, this marketing thing, put it in the new contract. Let's put it on there, you know, and some of these things that you aren't getting credit for, that, you know, you aren't in the scope, well, do an amendment and say, hey, well, we're gonna plan this, put it in there. And then at the end of the day, if we do ever get audited, we could say, well, yeah, well, this contract was amended, we did this, A, B, C, and D. It just,
We didn't know we had to do that,
and
and we will do that moving
and
forward.
that happens
Yeah.
in any turnaround within,
Yeah.
you know, within, you know, we have had turnaround, not only, you know, Mr. Hendrickson, but prior to that, so we had a lot of turnaround in there. And that's been, as I mentioned to the mayor, it's not that people are doing wrong, it's just they're
But we have to do
unfortunate.
it right.
The way things should be working, you know.
Yeah.
We could go back 4 or 5 years on not only Main Street, but other contracts and see where the city dropped the ball as far as accountability. And then from here, you know, from here on forward, we need to make sure that we have a good council, we're getting along, so it's like I told Reina this morning, we don't have to deal with the nonsense of fighting and coming to the meeting, and we're focusing on city business, which that's what we should be doing. And we're caught up with, you know, all the other negativity in the back and all the infighting that we had in previous administrations. We're getting to the meat of things and catching up on things that weren't done. I mean, you know, even, you know, city manager, you know, when Bill came in, he was trying to catch up so much. Leo's trying to catch up, and it's just so
It's
many
hard.
years of neglect and not more, and what it takes continuity. It takes continuity from, these are the processes, getting things done, and that's why I give, you know, at Highlands, the continuity at Highlands, you know, everybody knows what their duties are, what they're held responsible for, and we're just trying to barely get in the thick of things.
Sure.
With, I mean, from police to, you know, everything within the city, and we'll get there hopefully, you know, hopefully it's just working together.
We
and-
will.
And stop finger pointing and again, getting things done, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, and we welcome the opportunity to, you know, to learn the process that we need to work with you guys as partners, and like whatever it takes, we're gonna do it so we can work together.
I think, so one of the things that happens every year is we get accredited by the state, and it's a long process. So these months is when I'm doing the accreditation stuff. But at the end of that, so on October 5th, the director of Main Street, Daniel Gutierrez, the head of Main Street for the state, is coming, he'll come do the site visit with a woman, Amy Barnhart, who's a specialist. They'll come to town, they meet with our board, they meet with the mayor, and they will happily meet with city council. And I think it would be really good for you to meet Daniel, just to have that connection, and to know, and ask him any questions that you want to ask him. So I'll make sure that you know, they're only here for like 2 hours, but I'll make sure that you know, and so that there's a point where you can come in and chat if you want with him
Mr. Mayor.
at the train station.
And just to clarify things, I have spoken to Daniel, and he said you have every right as a councilman to ask for any information from Main Street. And I was told different, that we didn't fund that part of it, so we don't have no room for questioning, which is wrong. So just to clarify that. But either way, my concerns were this. You know, the quarterly reports, again, everybody knows we never got it. But even when we got them, the way they were like rated on the percentages of completion were not right. Some of them, the first quarter differed from the second, third, and fourth, and it didn't make sense because the third one said it was less or more than the second or the third. But, so on this new contract, that needs to be defined. And the last exhibit, scope of work that Bill had, Hendrickson, he had put a dollar amounts on there. So if this item wasn't done, well, that dollar amount would be deducted from your contract, for instance. On this new one, it doesn't have that.
No, it's never had, it's never had.
So I'm saying,
Yeah.
on this new contract, we gotta have some formula that is gonna be able to tell where you're at with that project and come to
Okay,
council. If
sure.
it can't be completed in 6 months, well, let's
Sure.
scratch it off the books, or whatever it might be.
Okay.
But this deal of coming at the end of the year, and we can blame COVID, I mean, all we want. But at the end of the day, the last report, quarterly report that I read said that we were 100% done out of 100%. And that wasn't the true case, because all this other stuff hadn't been done to what it's supposed to have been done. So that needs to be addressed on that new contract for this
Okay.
coming year. The other thing is, I represent a quarter of the people in this town. And I've already mentioned it a few times that my ward somehow needs to get something out of this. And I've already researched, and I've been told here locally that it can't be done, that it's only 1, 2, and 3 districts, and that's it. And I beg to differ because Silver City and Deming, I believe, have reached out to other areas of the community. And Los Alamos actually extended out to the county. So either the bylaws need to be changed or some way or another. And all I'm saying, I'm going to leave it at this. All I'm saying is that it needs to be included on this next year's contract, that you will look into that, if we can do that or not.
That's fine, and it's a
If
great-
not, excuse me, if not, what I need you guys to do, this organization, is work with Main Street, with Philip Martinez and Chamber of Commerce, and I don't care what it is, create a big map, cartoon map, and put all your businesses in there of your districts, and also include the rest of the community, all the rest of the businesses in there. Something's got to be done.
Sure. And we
Okay?
had
To be
spoken.
inclusive.
Excuse me
Yes.
first. I don't mean to
No,
interrupt.
to be inclusive, yeah, go ahead.
Like we talked this morning, we've already got the wheels going on trying to include more areas, and absolutely. I think that, everyone needs to benefit from the services that Main Street can offer, and it's a win-win for everybody. So we'll be glad to put that in the next
And just-
contract and.
Yeah, and one last thing, Mr. Mayor, just to clear out the air, because there has been a lot of, I guess, hostility, communication, and, I believe that there's no one up here right now, and you're in Councilman Ulibarri, that doesn't support Main Street. And I just want to say that I want to make sure that I'm pretty clear about this. I do support Main Street, but I'll tell you one thing. This administration is going to be accountable to every committee, commission, board, organization that comes before us. And this is what this is all about. Whether it was a rubber stamp, this contract before us, before our administration, or for the last 3 administrations, that was that administration. But for us, we want to work with you. We want to make sure that these things are healthy for our city government, that we answer to our constituents, and that we move this downtown and the city forward. So please understand that. It's not that we don't understand the way Main Street works. It's just that we want the accountability that comes with it. And that's why we got elected. That's part of what we got elected. to make sure that organizations and everybody else that's spending government money, tax money, is accountable for it. So those kind of things I'm asking that are included on this contract, the next contract that we approve. Now, these items that we just went through and discussed, this need to be an amendment to that contract. And that's the next action item on the agenda.
Okay.
But this has to have, it does have deadlines on there, 6 months, which is good. You mentioned earlier in our meeting that you're willing to come here quarterly and give us a 10, 15-minute report. I mean, that's what it's all about. Keeping in touch. I mean, you're not over there doing your own thing, and we're not over here doing our own thing. And we ought to know what's going on, and how the city is moving forward, and how we can help out. Travis?
We did.
Two comments.
With utter respect, Counselor, every quarter, a report was delivered to your community development director as per the contract.
And we understand that.
Now, your
But-
communication
but-
did not
but-
go forward to you, and I'm so sorry about that.
And that's why I made a point earlier
No.
that I'd like that written in, that it would be an in-person
Yeah.
15-minute
We can do that.
presentation.
It
That's a
used to
great
be
idea.
It used to be.
quarterly in front of the council.
Yes. And that's where we'll end up with this stuff being on the, landing up not getting completed. Because we didn't get those reports. If we would have gotten the first report and none of this stuff had been completed or so, we would have questioned it right there and then. But that never happened last year when they brought the contract before us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Dr. Rodriguez, and then I'll call you, Mr. Romero. Thank you.
One thing that really works, and this is a recommendation, and I learned this probably more recently working for Highlands. And I'll be honest that a lot of faculty members were thinking at first it was just extra work. Why do we have to do this extra work? You know, we teach in the classroom, you know, we work with students. The one thing that we've been doing and we're getting much better at is strategic planning. So now what we have to do as a department, right now we're going through, we strategically plan for the next year, for the next 2 years. And then that strategic plan is then tied to our budget. So then we know what we're going to be requesting from the city or requesting from Highlands or looking at going out for grant money. And then we have to complete a report. And then that report identifies the deliverables. These are the outcomes. This is, you know, this was the strategic plan. This is what we budgeted for. And then this is the outcome. And it's so organized, and then it becomes so much easier
The next time around.
every time. So then if you need a report, you can give us the report, and it's just nice and easy. At first, it's a lot of work.
Sure.
But now that we've been doing it for a few years, it's become so much easier, useful, and we see what we've accomplished.
Yeah.
Instead of, we're going to, and that was kind of the question I had with your report, because you said we're going to develop, we're going to implement, we're going to coordinate, we're going to do all of these things, but what is the deliverable? Are you, okay, if I'm going to continue to work on this, then what do I expect to get done the first quarter? What do I expect to get done the second, the third, and fourth? And then it ties nicely to your budget. So I do give a call out to President Minner, which, you know, he and the VP and both VPs of Finance and have really worked with our departments to do that, and we're efficient now at it, and it's so much easier.
Great idea.
Yeah. And then it does really tell us, you know, look what we've accomplished. You get amazed when you start doing the report.
That's true.
And then you can move to the second year, third year, fourth year. That's one comment I would suggest. And there's a lot of individuals at Highlands that do strategic planning very well. I'm sure, you know, if you need someone to volunteer and work with you to do that, there would be somebody there.
That'd be great.
The other thing, I was a little concerned regarding your bylaws. And you mentioned that we don't have a minimum number of directors, but we have a maximum. My question to you, wouldn't you have a minimum so you have a quorum? If you have 0 people showing up for a meeting, then who gives direction?
We have a bylaw committee now that's actually working on our bylaws.
Okay.
Cindy's on that committee, and I think Tasha's on that committee. So I think it's a great suggestion, and I saw a draft in an email today from Cindy that talked about minimum, maximum.
Yep.
So I'll let you know what happens with that, but it's in
Okay, thank you.
process.
I appreciate that. That's my 2 cents.
Thanks.
Mr. Romero? I know it seems like Ms. Collins is very frustrated back there, and now's the time, I think we mutually respect each other, and I'd like to hear more of what she might have to say. Is there anything that you want to add that we need to hear out? Because at the end of the day, it's not personal, it's not nothing, and I do respect, you've been involved with it, and when you were under your direction, a lot of great things were happening, and I don't know, because I wasn't, I think you might have retired right at the end when I came in, maybe, so I never really got to work with you. And I just want to know, what's your,
Thank you, Counselor. What I can say is to use the example that worked so well with me when Elmer Martinez was the Community Development Director. I would quarterly go to him, just as Michael did with your previous Community Development Director, and he'd say, no, Cindy, I don't like this, you need to do something else, and we would fix it, and then I would present to City Council on the screen. Here's the picture of us painting a building. Here's this, here are the plans for the Great Rocks building. And that communication flowed very easily. And I think that because of the breakdown between us, your city staff, and you, then we got into this hospital situation. And it's easily corrected. Thank you for saying that, though.
no, I saw you frustrated back there, I just wanted,
Thank you.
I felt it.
She is a wise advisor. It's great that it's my president.
We're so lucky to have Cindy. She's a walking history book on the city, and oh, so-and-so did that, and it's just, we're very lucky to have her as part of our board,
She's respected all over the community.
as she should
Her
be.
name's known all over the community.
As she should be, yes.
Respected individual.
Mr. Minner.
Mr. Mayor, thank you, members of the council. One thing that I think I need to do also, I'm on several local boards, I'm on a couple national boards. And Highlands is involved in a lot of things, some of which, but only some, have to do with Main Street. I've been on that board for almost 6 years. But kind of trying to do what I can to clarify that, because sometimes people see Highlands involved in some activity, and it is a Main Street thing, but sometimes it's not. And trying to be a little more careful, I guess, in my life. I'm looking right now at an invitation to the university residents, October 12th, which is what, 3 weeks, 2 weeks? I don't know. And we're having this photographer who's well-known for producing these photo albums of rescue dogs. So this is a fundraiser that Highlands is sponsoring, but we're going to give the money to the AWC. It doesn't have anything to do with Main Street whatsoever.
Right.
So it doesn't make any difference what district it's in, it doesn't make any difference. All it's about is bringing some money in. We've already had over $2,000 pledged, so the kennel will get this, But I think because that's so gray, sometimes I have to admit, it's gray in my own head. Because I'm on a number, and then sometimes we just do something on our own, But I think that might clarify people's perceptions of what's going on. Because some, but only some of the activities we do are Main Street things that I do, but many aren't. We're having a film at the Indigo. It's free to the community. That's also be in October. totally free, you don't pay anything, just like the films at Hillsdale. But it's not a Main Street thing. But I actually heard a comment about that today, that, you know, no one knew and Main Street wasn't. That's right, because it doesn't have anything to do with that. But I'm going to pledge to try to be a little more clear about that if I can. But sometimes, like I said, it's a little fuzzy, but that's okay, I think, if we're trying to accomplish something positive, you know.
Well, I have to say, Dr. Minner, I've been involved in the community for a long time, and I have to say that you're one president that has been involved in the civic matters of our community fully. I can't think of another president in history.
That's very kind of you to say. And you know why? I mean, Joan, my wife and I love living in Las Vegas, New Mexico. We've
Good.
been here 6 years, that's nothing compared to many people. But it's a beautiful community, and we feel very, very fortunate to live here. And that's really the motivation for kind of trying to do some of these other kinds of things, like this one.
Yeah.
You know, but that's very kind of you to say, and I appreciate it
Thank
very,
you.
very much.
Thank you. What's the pleasure of the council?
Mr. Mayor, there was one last question, and I know we kind of discussed it with Stella as far as, I know you guys are on that timeline, you know, for funding, and you had mentioned that you would recheck with Daniel.
I mean, I know the timeline. It's, so we usually have our contract in and uploaded into all the accreditation stuff by October 5th. They're coming on October 5th this year, so we'd love to have it done by then. We don't have to have it done by then. It would be the first time, I think, in 15 years that we didn't have it done by then. So if we need an extension, we could get an extension, but we'd like to have it done by the beginning of October normally, So, because part of the accreditation is that we have the contract.
So the part of the funding that you're applying for now, or with the reaccreditation, is that federal or a state funding?
State.
Okay. That makes a big difference.
Yeah.
What's the pleasure of the council? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I just, and I'm just going to be honest here, is that I would feel more comfortable if we put together, and maybe we give direction to Scott to put together an amended scope of work for last year's contract. I don't know how you guys feel, you know, he would put together and we would have those, basically, I mean, I know you guys gave us this one here, but it actually turned it into a contract, an actual contract.
How about if could we do an amendment to last year's contract? That's for last year?
No, to this year's, next year's contract.
Just so we tie that, you know, we tie a contract that we're giving an extension on these items, if that's what, you know, the council so chooses, but we have a contract in place, and
So let me just make sure I get it right. You want these deliverables here put into this coming year's contract?
no, I'd like to keep them separate.
Keep it in last year's?
But we would make amendment, an addendum to last year's contract stating that these items will be done, and, you know, we could give direction as to, you know, what a timeline is, I mean, a timeline on that?
I can certainly do an addendum.
Because you guys are okay with that, right? I mean, you guys given
That was
us
our
here.
hope, yeah.
Okay, are there deadlines in there already?
6
They
months.
put
6 months.
Okay,
Most of them were
so
6 months.
I can do an addendum to last year's contract, and we can attach that as an exhibit.
So that would go with the 2021 contract.
2022.
And then we have to look at approval of the 2022 contract.
How long is the 2021 contract in Ward?
I think it's already,
With 3 months.
it's already, that's why we're doing a new one.
But why can't we just do an addendum to the new contract with those old deliverables?
Well, it's probably cleaner to keep last year's items on last year's contracts. We can go into last year's contract, do an amendment that says we're kicking it, even though the date's expired, we're going to kick out the date long enough to get these items completed. In the meantime, we're going to have another contract with them that's going to be a separate set of items, with separate deadlines, separate deliverables.
Right.
That way we keep them separate, keep them clean, separate.
Gotcha. What's the pleasure of the council? Is that a motion, Mr. Romero?
With the 2021 contract.
They're almost like tied together, that's kind of
Well,
it's separate, but we,
not necessarily, because you're going to make an amendment to the 2021 contract. That's separate from the 2022 contract.
Unless yes, it will be separate.
Okay.
But it sounds to me like the 2022 contract is conditioned on having amendment to the 21 contract.
It's conditioned on possibly putting in the deliverables and dates. Because right now in the 2022, they just have measurable goals. But what I'd like to see in that is dates, within the first quarter, within the second quarter. Because right now, the 2022 doesn't have, they just have the work measurable goals, but no deadlines or dates.
and I guess that's kind of where the next discussion of the next contract was gonna be is, actually, so much people live from this.
Because we still have some time. I mean,
Well, we don't have time,
We
because
don't.
they're on a deadline.
but we still have one more Wednesday, or we could call a special meeting if we need to look at the 2022 contract, correct?
No, we could extend this meeting till then, till Monday or Tuesday. We could postpone this item for Monday or Tuesday.
The 2022?
Because two things need to happen.
Okay,
We need to include this, what we got today,
right,
on either contract.
correct.
And then the other thing is, we need a revision of this 2022 contract to include.
So Brandon went over that with me this morning. I just didn't have time to do it between 1 o'clock and...
Yeah, no, I understand. And we understand that. But in order for us to approve it by the 5th, when you guys get a credit dated, there's some things that need to be added, like the late Councilman Rodriguez mentioned, and that was my point too, is that we need to have some kind of measurements in place. And then there's other things on here that I need to bring up on the next item, on the contract, unless I can bring them up right now.
Please do.
For instance, and I brought it up this morning, it really, really bothers me when any part of city government or any part of city government makes this kind of statements. Building bridges between East and West Las Vegas. I mean, to me, that's what consolidation took care of. We're no longer East Las Vegas and West Las Vegas. We're Las Vegas. The East and West belongs at the schools. That's their thing. They haven't consolidated. So, as far as the city of Las Vegas is concerned, we're one city. And under that one city, you have two districts. And it's the West Las Vegas District and the East Las Vegas District Schools system. Two different things. But on our verbiage here, we always, somehow or another, figure out to put East and West Las Vegas. And there's no East and West Las Vegas. Okay? Or kids or opening the artists' studios from the west side. There's no east side or west side. Either there's New Town or Old Town. That needs to be cleared.
We'll change that.
Because
provision. Yes.
we're doing the same mistake
Right.
over and over, and it's not working for us.
Right.
We're one community, and we're one city, and we need to refrain from using that kind of wording other than in the schools. the libraries at the schools and the system and all that is fine. But other than that, we need to change that on here.
Is there
On
anything
this
else?
new contract. I'm getting to it, Mr. Mayor. The other thing is item number, what is it? Like all your USDA grant applications,
Take it
I
out.
don't think that needs to be on this contract.
Right.
That's something you guys all do extra. Sure, we ought to be updated, or we ought to know about it, or if we can help out, or whatever. But I don't think we should hold you obligated to that on this contract. So those things need to change on this contract. And in addition, like I mentioned, add in there that you will be working towards, extending your boundaries to other wards, if possible, or whatever, or in whatever fashion. And then that you will be reporting quarterly in person. That needs to be on this contract to mayor and council, a 10, 15-minute presentation. And also just how you're going to report the tasks that have been completed, like Elaine was saying, so that way we know where we're at every time you come up before us, and we have a quarterly report, and we see the progress coming up. And we don't wait till the last minute or the last day. But those things got to be approved, changed and approved on the
Okay.
contract that you guys submitted on this today. So, go ahead.
I can get that back to you tomorrow afternoon. Wayne already went through that with me, we did some of it today.
Yeah.
If I could add to that, I know, Councilor Montoya, you say that what I would suggest on that USDA one, in speaking with Stella, that there's going to be other funding available, USDA funding for businesses, but one of the deliverable could be, we could put the item in there, but say that they're going to have a community meeting, and they're going to
We already
invite
got
other
it.
businesses, and then the deliverable will be the sign-in sheet with all the different businesses. But it's not, so that way there's proof that it wasn't just, certain individuals, it's a broad group, everybody was invited. If only those, one of them would be the deliverable would be the advertisement, that it was set out to the community. If,
And USDA is going to help us with that promotion.
I would love
So if one-
to work together with you on that grant, because there's going to be some money coming through. I would
but I
love to
think
put
it's
that in
important,
our
that's a good,
contract.
that's a good, item to leave in the scope of work, but let's
Yeah.
eliminate what's happened with that one, and let's look at future USDA funding, and
They said-
let's make
right.
it more available to other.
It was the first one
communities.
since 2016, and then they're excited about the fact that Las Vegas is coming in. With applications.
If we could do that, and let's add it in there, but take out all the other stuff, and let's move forward with the new USDA grant.
They're returning money because they're not able to give it out.
Yeah.
So they're actively seeking and working with us to really try to get some of these funds out. So we're excited.
They want the city to come in for a grant to get a bathroom.
And then on item 9, I know that Project Leap, and I think it was kind of getting finalized. I don't know if that one needs to be on there, or you could add something in there.
There's none?
Was LEAP not on there? I thought it was.
Yeah, LEAP was a project that we did that benefited businesses and people, anybody could apply in the district.
We're doing that next year, though.
No, we did it this past year.
See, so that's kind of where I'm saying is we don't.
So that was something that came in before, like in the middle of the contract, things happened, and so that project came up.
And we didn't know,
Right.
that we had the opportunity to bring it forth to you
Right.
and add an amendment. And we'll do that next time, and we'll communicate if things come up, how to do that, and if you guys think, don't keep it in
So
there.
like on that item here, so let's say we approve the contract. Well, the contract you're going to have now is from, let's say, October 1st through whatever, that's because we can't backdate. So if this item was done, they're going to say, oh, well,
It's not completely done yet, but we're in the process of it.
so what finalizing are you doing on that?
They're doing two more, they're working with Las Vegas Arts Council and one other business, I think Pam's Flowers, to do stuff, and so it's not finished yet. And it's like a 3 or 4 month project
Yeah.
that we got the money for in the spring.
Okay. So with that, whatever you haven't done, whatever you haven't do, come up with a deliverable, or, you met with these certain
I see what you're
businesses
saying.
from
Okay.
October 1st or whatever, here's the sign-in sheet, just something that we say, okay, it did happen, and if we ever get, and I hate to use this word.
And you want that on the 2022 contract?
Okay.
Just so if they ever come and say, well, how did you guys pay these guys if, it was already advertised on the webpage and that it was
We understand.
I think it said something about August or September. But if we have a contract that starts October, well, how did you guys pay for something that was already done? So just, if there hasn't been done, put, what hasn't been done, and let's put a deliverable, so that way, at the end of the day, it's just,
Yeah.
like I tell people, it's just dotting our i's and crossing our t's and making
Right.
sure, you know what I mean?
Right,
So.
right. Okay.
And I do want to tell you that this isn't only for Main Street.
Yes.
Every contract is going to be scrutinized, and it's going to be our responsibility as a city to write better contracts, or not to sign them if there's missing information. So it's going to be our job, incumbent on us, to make sure that the contracts that we're in agreement with these other nonprofits and organizations has everything in them. So it's not just Main Street. Unfortunately, this was the one that came up.
We were first up to bat.
Yeah.
We'll be glad to be done first.
Yeah, and thank you for that, because that's going to give us a foundation on how to write contracts and evaluate contracts. So that'll be a lot easier for everyone involved. So,
I think in the long run, it'll be easier for all
It will.
organizations. Yeah, it's just a lot of work up front, but that's
I
okay.
also want to note, Mr. Mayor, and you could vouch for this, and there are certain individuals that can vouch, but these discussions were made, in meetings, not in a public setting, but meetings that, hey, we need to address this lodger's tax, we need to make sure our contracts. So these were taking place, it's just like the mayor said, it just, you guys came up and was never, again, never anything, personal, it's just, I guess, kind of the way the meeting turned out, it just seemed like it was personal, and it was never personal, and again, all we could do is move forward. We never, as Councilor Montoya, stated, it was never that we were against Main Street, that, and I know that got up to state officials that City of Las Vegas council members were not in favor of Main Street. That was never, ever, ever, ever the concern, you know what I mean? And we need to, I wish that some of those communications would have never went that way, because then it kind of makes us look like we don't have our stuff together here in Las Vegas, but it is what it is, and we'll move forward.
We're gonna move forward, fresh slate and a little bit more knowledgeable. And like I've told, all the counselors, just let me know, let Raina know as president, what we can do better.
So with that, if we were to have a meeting on the 4th to approve this contract, and of course, maybe, because I know our attorney's going to be on vacation, so that kind of leaves this next week kind of out. But if we were to have a meeting on the 4th, approve that contract, I think we've kind of discussed what we, just turn it into a contract, an addendum form. You guys put your 6 months here, request this, put it in a contract, the same thing with the updated, the new contract, the 2022 contract, make those little changes that we just discussed now. To me, I think we're on the same page, we're on the same page, let's just get that done.
We could upload it the night of the 4th.
You can want-
Or
Yeah, I
even
would.
before that, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get it
Yeah.
to you a little bit earlier. Yeah.
I think you need to go back and don't rush it. And I think maybe that's why we're running into these issues.
Okay.
Take your time and look at measurables, see what we've completed for 21 and what are we going to do for 22, and then this is a timeline. There's no rush. If you would have like 4 or 5 days to. Like everybody's rushing.
5 days.
Plus, I have others to rush me with some directions.
We need the interns. There's
That's
one
okay.
employee.
That's okay. We'll get it done,
We'll get it done.
whatever it takes. Yeah.
Around the clock.
It's doable.
all right, I'll entertain a motion from the council. Thank you. There's a motion? Is there a motion to postpone this vote? Or postpone this, or what's the proper?
Mr. Mayor, on item number 1, I make a
Yes.
motion, a motion to give direction to the attorney to put the, to draft a addendum contract of the 2021 contract and present that. Are you guys okay? I mean, I don't want to give it, or present that at the next council meeting for approval? I don't want to put a date just in case.
What's the advice of the attorney? Or the clerk? Anybody?
Oh, Mr. Mayor, I was thinking that this meeting could not have an adjournment and postpone this item till this information comes about and then reconvenes on the 4th and take action on these 2 items. No, I think that what happens is, according to the attorney's advice, they're just going to revise the documents that they gave us and revise the contract, so it's, I don't know, I don't think it needs any publication, according to what he said earlier. So I don't know. That's my question.
And I'm going to try to be as expeditious as possible. So is there a possibility of including all those changes in saying that these items will be added to this contract and vote on the item tonight?
Well, no, I wouldn't support that. I want to see it in writing.
All right.
So I would like to take
Then
your
we
time.
can call a special meeting for Monday.
And it sounds like what there needs to be, I think technically, is a motion to postpone definitely, so not indefinitely, but postpone definitely, and then you guys set a time where it will be postponed to, and that way, all of the notice that we've given for this meeting carries over to that meeting.
All right, so I will select Monday afternoon at 4. Is that okay with everybody?
On the 1st. Sorry, 4th.
The 4th.
Wait, no, I'm talking the 27th.
Right.
I'm talking Monday.
We don't have an attorney.
Monday, the 27th?
Can be on the meeting.
When will you be on? When
Well,
will you be on?
I can do 2 things. If we're putting something together, I mean, I can still put it together and get it emailed out and all that. And maybe if I need to attend the meeting, I can potentially attend it via Zoom. 'Cause
I'm
that's-
okay with that. I want to do this as expeditiously as possible.
I think once the documents are drafted and they've been reviewed and that they're sufficient, I don't know that, I mean, I'll attend via Zoom if that makes everybody happy, but I don't know that you'll necessarily need me at the meeting if the drafts are looking sufficient for everybody.
Right. That sounds good. On for it.
So is the 24th on Friday, 2 days from now, sufficient time for us to get a copy of the draft?
2 days
Or-
from now?
So we can
Yeah.
review it for
Yes.
over the
Oh,
weekend?
okay. Oh, yeah,
Over
yeah.
the weekend?
Yes, sir.
Yeah?
Oh,
Is that okay with you, then? Do you think that's enough time for
That's
them
enough
to
time for me to
review?
review it.
Yeah, okay.
So Friday,
Mr.
a
Mayor,
draft. Sure.
I have a question for the city attorney. So if we're postponing the items for another meeting, the meeting has to be set for a certain date. Don't we have to re-advertise for that meeting? If the items are just being postponed, the meeting's not being, is the meeting being postponed or
Yes,
the items?
This meeting is being, the items and, we're postponing to a certain day or time the carrying on of this business. So this has already been advertised, and what we're doing is we're postponing that to another meeting that will take up these exact items that have already been given notice of.
In other words, we will not be adjourning this meeting. This will be a continuous meeting till then. There's a gap in between. but because it's been advertised and everything, we
So
can-
the exact items will be brought back with
Yes,
amendments.
they're just postponing these items until,
So we wouldn't take any action, we would just make the motion to
To postpone all
recess.
action till Monday.
No, we wouldn't
It
even
would
take
be a
action.
recess, wouldn't it?
We would do a recess.
recess.
I think a motion to recess, or, and then when we come back, we make a motion to reconvene. It's a recess, I'm pretty sure.
That works as well.
All right. I'll entertain a motion. Or do we just recess?
Let's make sure.
Uh,
Oh, there's got to be an action on this item. Either postpone the item, act on it, or deny it. What's the duration?
Well, we wouldn't, because if we act on it, then we have to come back and change the act on it. So if we recess right now, we haven't taken act, we haven't even, we're still on item number 1. So if we recess right now, then we would reconvene and we'd come back to number 1. By that time, that documentation
Scott,
should be updated.
Scott, you won't be able to meet via Zoom. You don't have the capability, remember? You could do a conference call.
Yeah.
And I highly doubt you'll be, I'm sorry, but I
Sure.
highly doubt you'll be needed.
Right, like I said, if the documents are complete to everybody's satisfaction, you're just doing the formality of voting on it, signing off on it.
So let's do this. They'll have it ready for us Friday morning. It'll go out to the council Friday. You guys have your homework and you get back to Scott by Friday afternoon. When do you leave on your vacation?
Tomorrow at
Oh.
5 o'clock is my last.
Okay.
I mean, I could continue to work on it, have my laptop with me, but.
Okay, so
It's not
it goes to
vacation.
us Friday morning. Our feedback is due to Scott Friday evening. Is that all right?
We'll review it on the
The
weekend.
weekend.
We're going to review it on weekend
Yeah.
and we'll address it on Monday.
Yeah.
All right?
We'll reconvene this on Monday.
Sound good? But just so everybody knows what your timelines are, you have to submit everything by Monday to Scott.
Okay, so here's a recess doesn't close a meeting. When you reconvene from a recess, you take up the business right where you left off.
Okay.
So if we recess right now, we haven't taken action 1 or 2. If we take action, then we're gonna have to come back and change. So the best thing is, Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to recess until September 27th at 4 p.m.
And to postpone the motion until that time.
Yes,
We don't
that'll
have
work.
to. Just recess and then we come back and reconvene.
Very well, there's a motion on the floor. I'll entertain a second.
Second.
Second, consider the meeting recessed. Thank you.
Mayor? So I'm sending out the revised 2022 scope of work with the amendment for 2021. Just a clean copy of that I fixed, right? That I adjust.
You said you wanted it with the 2021?
Yeah.
The amendments.
An amendment for
Right.
2021.
Right.
And then for the 2022,
I'm just gonna
we
make
have
those
to
changes.
clean it out.
Right, I have the notes from.
And then
from-
put dates
Okay.
for deliverables. And it could be like the first quarter or the second quarter.
Okay.
So really that extension of
So come up with those
2021
deliverables to where it's kind of,
Measurable, we can measure it,
Right.
yes.
That amendment's going to be extending that contract.
Right.
Yes.
and that's where the contract's gonna come in place with them for.
Okay, so we're done.